Good morning, students. Good morning to all. And last day we have studied about the Reserve Bank of India and industrial finance. And in this industrial finance, we have studied all India level of institutions. So in this all India level of institutions are the Industrial Finance Corporation of India and the Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India and the Industrial Development Bank of India. So last day we have studied these all India level of institutions. But even though some of the state level institutions also available in our nations to providing the finance for the industrializations. Today we will study about the state level institutions. State level institutions for industrial finance. Like a national level institution for the industrial finance, some of the state level institutions also available in our nations to providing the industrial finance. So the government of India passed in 1951 the State Financial Corporation Act, and the state financial corporations were set up in many states. So here the state level institutions, the two type of the institutions are there. First one is state financial corporations and state industrial development corporations. So simply we will tell the SIDCO. First we will study about the state financial corporation. So the government of India passed in 1951 the State Financial Corporation Act, and the state financial corporations were set up in many states. So the state finance corporations are mainly intended for the development of small and medium industrial units within their respective states. All the states also has some of the medium and small scale industries. So one nations must be focusing the small and medium scale industries also, because most of the GDP, mainly the nearby the 40% of GDP is coming from the small and medium scale industries only. So the nations must be focusing on the small scale and the medium scale industries. So however, in some cases they extend to neighboring states as well. The state finance corporations provide loans and underwriting assistance to industrial units having paid up capital and reserves not exceeding 1 crore. So those small and medium scale industries are being in the need of paid up capital not exceeding the 1 crore. It will be providing loans and some of the underwriting assistance to the industrial units. If any of the industrial units are being in the need of underwriting assistance on the basis of any of the banking guarantees, the state financial corporations will be providing the loans and underwriting assistance. And not only that, the small finance or the state financial corporations depend upon the IDBI for refinance in respect of the term loans granted by them. So whenever the state finance corporations want to provide the financial facilities to the small scale and the medium scale enterprises, this bank also has to be depending upon the IDBI, Industrial Development Bank of India. So apart from this, the state financial corporations can also make temporary borrowings from the RBI and borrowings from IDBI and by the sale of bond. So the state financial corporations also has the rights to borrowing the money from the Reserve Bank of India and the Industrial Development Bank of India. By borrowing the money from these two banks, it will be provide the financial assistance to the entrepreneurs of small scale industries or medium scale industries. Next is state industrial development corporations. This is also one of the state level institutions for the industrial finance. The industrial development corporations have been set up by the state governments and they are wholly owned by them. So all the state government has been created the SIDCO, and it is fully owned and governed by the state government itself. So without any of the central government interventions. These institutions are not merely financing agency. They are entrusted with the responsibility of accelerating the industrialization of their states. All the nations or all the states must be must be taking the effort to increasing the industrializations on the respective states. Then only on the basis of the resources, availability resources, the industrializations will be increased. Some of the states only will have the proper circumstances to produce any of the particular commodities. On the basis of the availability resources, all the states has to improve the industrializations. Okay, so when they are established the industrializations, if they need of having the financial assistance, so when the time of being in the need of financial assistance, so the SIDCO, the State Industrial Development Corporations, will provide the industrial finance. The SIDCO provides financial assistance to industrial concerns by way of loans, guarantees, and underwritings for direct subscriptions to shares and debentures. So when they are providing underwriting the loans or direct subscriptions means I will tell you later. So they will providing the shares and debentures by selling the shares and debentures or issuing the shares and debentures. The state industrial development corporations will provide the financial assistance for the state level or the small and medium scale enterprises. So the project techno-economic service, the SIDCO undertake the development of industrial areas by providing all infrastructural facilities and initiation of new growth centers. By establishing the new growth centers, it will be take the initiations in many industrial sectors. They also administer various state government incentive schemes. SIDCOs get refinance facilities from IDBI. So the SIDCO also will have the rights to borrow the money from the IDBI. They also borrow through bonds and accept deposits. So the SIDCO also will be having the rights or the power to borrow the bonds and accept the deposits. Next, monetary policy. So this is also one of the important concept in our banking lessons. So the monetary policy is the macroeconomy policy being laid down by the central bank towards the management of supply and interest rate. Already we have studied the supply of money and controlled the interest rate is the main tools of conducting the monetary policies. So the monetary policy is the macroeconomy policies, because in this macroeconomic analysis is the monetary or the money related or supply of money is being as very core places. So the supply of money only is being as a very core point of this macroeconomic analysis. So the monetary policy is the macroeconomy policies, and it will be laid down by the central bank towards the management of supply of money and the interest rate, fixing the interest rate. So it is the demand side economy policy used by the government of a country to achieve macroeconomic objectives like inflation, consumption, growth and liquidity. So normally, so the demand side economy policy only used by the government of a country. For what mean? To achieve the macroeconomic objectives. What are the macroeconomic objectives means? So controlling the inflation, consumption and growth and liquidity. So the monetary policy gained its significance after the World War II, thanks to the initiation made by Milton Friedman, who is associated with the doctrine of monetarism. In these monetary policies, we must know about the two concepts, the expansionary and the contractionary. The expansionary monetary policy is also called as a cheap money policy. The expansionary policy is a cheap money policy. When a monetary authority uses its tools to stimulate the economy. So we have studied the basis of trade cycles. So after the recession period, the nations have to take the more effort to improve the economic. So what are the ways or what are the undertaking is taken by the central government or the Reserve Bank of India is called as expansionary policies. Otherwise it is called cheap money policies. An expansionary policy maintains short-term interest rate at a lower than usual rate of increase the total supply of money in the economy. So when we are providing when the Reserve Bank of India lending the financial assistance with the low rate of interest, that is called expansionary policy or cheap money policy. Cheap money policy means just you keep in your mind. So the money can easily get by the way of fixing the low rate of interest. When the Reserve Bank of India fixing the low rate of interest, all the consumers or all the individual persons or all the entrepreneurs can able to get or borrow more money from the bank. Okay, because the rate of interest is very low. Okay, because of the low rate of interest, so all the persons will borrow the money and they will have the more chance to consuming any commodity what they want. So by the way of low rate of interest, all the entrepreneur can have the power and interest and the interest to purchasing borrowing the money from the Reserve Bank or any other commercial banks. Okay, so because of that they can able to establish the new industries throughout the world and states. So when they are established the new industries, the supply of commodities will be increased and the economy also will be recovered from the basis of recession period. And the cheap money policy also it is traditionally used to try to combat unemployment by lowering interest rate in the hope that less expensive credit will entice the business into expanding. So normally one of the speculative motive of the Reserve Bank of India only the cheap money policy is issued. So when we are reducing the rate of interest on the borrowed money, so the every entrepreneurs can have the money and they can able to get the money. So next the contractionary policies. The contractionary policies means also called as a dear money policy. The contractionary monetary policy is dear money policy which maintains short-term interest rates higher than the usual or which slows the rate of growth in the money supply or even shrinks it. So on the controversy of the expansionary policies, the Reserve Bank of India will be increasing the rate of interest on the borrowing money or lending money. When we are fixing the higher rate of interest than the actual time, so the entrepreneurs and the individual peoples also will not have the interest to borrow the money from the commercial banks. So the money supply also will be come to one control and the circulation of money also will be reduced. So this slows short-term economic growth and lessens inflation. So whenever the time of inflations, so the Reserve Bank of India will bringing the contractionary policies, otherwise the dear money policies. So on the basis of the dear money policies, the Reserve Bank of India will be increasing the rate of interest. So automatically, so how many of the peoples or the entrepreneurs are going to borrow the money? The people will not able to borrow the money because of high rate of interest. So the contractionary monetary policy can lead to increased unemployment and depressed borrowing and spending by consumers and business. So normally when they are providing the financial assistance to the entrepreneurs, so the supply of commodities will be increased and the purchasing power and the amount of consuming everything will be increased. But by the taken up by the way of undertaking the dear money policies, everything will be come to an control, which can eventually result in an economic recession if implemented too vigorously. Suppose in this economy being in the recession period, so they will implementing the dear money policies. So whatever will happen in the time of cheap money policies and in the time of dear money policies means, suppose if the Reserve Bank of India implementing the cheap money policies, the borrowing is easy. So all the entrepreneurs, all the individual peoples also easily can get the money from the Commercial Bank of India. And consumers buys more because all the entrepreneur will increasing the supply of commodities. In the same time, so all the individual also will have the more money to purchasing whatever they want. So all the consumers will buy more commodities, and the business expanded because borrowing the more money from the by the entrepreneurs, they will establish the new industries, and because of that, so all the small scale industries, medium scale industries, and the large scale industries also will be expand, and the buying and selling activities also will be expand. Next, more people are employed. So when there is more supply of commodities, and the demand also will be increased, on the basis of increasing the demand, so the more people will get the employment opportunity. Whenever the industrializations are going to increase on the basis of expanding the level of expanding of industrialization, the employment level also will be increased. Next, the people spend more money for their consuming, because whenever the industrializations are going to increase, they will get the employment opportunity and they will get the remunerations in any of the forms, and their purchasing power also will be increased, and the people will spend more money on the comfortable commodities and the luxurious commodities also. Next, what will happen in the dear money policies? If the Reserve Bank of India implementing the dear money policies, what will happen in our nation's mean? So the borrowing is very difficult. The borrowing will be very difficult because the rate of interest will be very high. Because of the high rate of interest, the no entrepreneurs and the individual peoples will not ready to purchasing any commodities. Next, the consumers buy less. So because of that, the supply of commodity will be reduced, and the employment opportunities also will be reduced. So the people's income also will be reduced if they don't have any employment opportunity. So then automatically the consumers will be reduced their purchasing amount. Next, businesses postpone expansions. So whenever the dear money policy is existing in our nations, the entrepreneurs will not ready to expand their business premises, because when they want to expand their business activity, they have to make more investment. So if they want to borrow the money from the bank, they will fixing more rate of interest. So they will decide to postpone for expanding the industrializations. Next, unemployment increases. So as I told, if there is no productions, if there is no supply of product, what will happen? So existing industries also will be closed to their business. So automatically the employment opportunity will be create, and the employment opportunity will be, the unemployment problem will be increased. Next, production is reduced, because if there is no more capital or investment mean, so the producers also will be reduced the amount of product what they are already producing. Next is the objectives of monetary policies. So in which objectives the monetary policy is going on means, the monetary policy in developed economies has to serve the functions of stabilization and maintaining proper equilibrium in the economic system. The functions of stabilization and maintaining proper equilibrium in the economy systems. So the balance of payment and the neutrality of money and whatever is maintaining or being or exposing as the developed economy, so that tools must be as a stabilized. So, but in case of underdeveloped countries, the monetary policy has to be more dynamic so as to meet the requirement of an expanding economy by creating suitable conditions for economic progress. So, on the basis of the system of economy, the Reserve Bank of India has to arrange and taking the objectives of monetary policies. So it is now widely recognized that monetary policy can be a powerful tool of economic transformations. If any of the nations want to begin the transforming from below to rich, the monetary policy is very much important. The specific objectives of monetary policies are neutrality of money, exchange rate stability, price stability, full employment, economic growth, and equilibrium in the balance of payment. First, the neutrality of money. So the economists like Wickstead, Hayek, and Robertson are the chief exponents of neutral money. Neutral money means the money supply must be equal. So they hold the view that monetary authority should aim to the neutrality of money in the economy. When we are maintaining the neutrality of money supply, the inflation situations will not be created. Like that, the deflations also will not be arises as quickly. So everything will be maintained on the basis of the supply of money. So on the basis of the monetary policies only, so the neutrality of money will be possible. So the monetary changes could be the root cause of all economic fluctuations. So when we are arranged and controlled the money supply as an efficient way, so the economic fluctuations always will be as a reasoning. So according to neutralists, the monetary change causes distortions and disturbance in the proper operation of the economic system of the countries. Because if there is no neutrality of money supply, so again and again the inflation and the deflation situations will be created. So again and again the inflation and the deflation situation is created means the economic systems will not be as equalizations. Next, exchange rate stability. Why we have to maintain the exchange rate in stabilizations? The exchange rate stability was the traditional objective of monetary authority. So this was the main objective under gold standard among different countries. So on the basis of the gold standard, so every nation has to use the gold as a exchange. But now on the basis of currency, the exchange rate will be maintained, or the value of the gold or value of the commodity, the exchange rate will be maintained. So when there was disequilibrium in the balance of payment of the country, it was automatically corrected by movements. So the balance of payment must be as equal. If it is equal, normally the economy of nations will be correct. So it was popularly known as expand currency and credit when gold is coming in. So contract currency and credit when gold is going out. The system will correct the disequilibrium in the balance of payment and the exchange rate stability will be maintained. The balance of payment only will bring in the proper exchange rate or the stability exchange rate. So it must be noted that if there is instability in the exchange rates, it would result in outflow or inflow of gold, resulting in unfavorable balance of payment. So on the basis of the gold, only we can maintaining the exchange rate stability. So therefore the stable exchange rates are advocated if we maintaining the proper economy. Okay students, now I think it's enough. So tomorrow we will continue that portions. If you have any doubt, please ask me. So tomorrow we will study some of the elaborately. Thank you.